All right, so now at this point, I'm going to welcome, they're pulling the chairs out as we speak, welcome the following individuals to the front of the room. We have Dr. John Hickey, a chiropractor. John, please join us. Susan Adams, nurse. Raynor Meyer, nurse practitioner. Melanie Whitcomb, board-certified naturopath and certified nutritional consultant. So we'll have a couple questions I want to ask you. One of the hardest parts about this challenge for me and for you, I know, is there's so much information that you have to share, such a wealth of experience and knowledge, and unfortunately, the convention's just not long enough, and so I'm so thankful that we get to have the health professional panels at the rally. By the way, the rally is another opportunity to hear from health professionals, of course, in the nutritional seminars throughout the year. But I want to ask a couple of questions of you, and the first one is, and Susan, we'll start with you. As a health professional with lots of choices, why do you trust your health to NeoLife, and how has it impacted your health? And we're going to have, just so you know, just so the crowd understands, we have about 4 to 5 minutes per person, so I'm going to ask 3 questions to each of them. There's not a lot of time, but I hope that it piques your interest, that you'll want to go on, learn more from them, and also take some notes, who they are in their profession. So if you'll start with your profession. Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Josh. First, Yvette, wherever you are, that was fantastic. That was so great. Thank you. Perfect, perfect. It just starts with digestion, so that's excellent. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 45 years. I'm about to retire, I will say, on September 23rd from full-time nursing, which I've loved the career. But guess what? Lee and I want to work on NeoLife full-time, so that's very exciting. So why do I entrust my health to NeoLife? Well, we all do what we really want to do. And what I do if I have any spare time, I'm always reading about health and nutrition. It is just one of my passions besides the Lord. So when people, and they often ask me about different companies, and what do you think about this product? What do you think about this company? So I'm always researching. I want to know not only to give them a good answer, but I want to know, because I want to always know what the best thing is. I'm always looking for the best. And I can honestly say in these 16 years that Lee and I have been with NeoLife that I have never found anything that even comes close to NeoLife. And there are 4 reasons. You all know this, but this is my reason. We have the best science and research on the planet. And thanks to our fabulous scientific advisory board, started by Dr. Arthur First, based in nature, backed by science. It's always been that way. It will always be that way. We have confidence in the future as well, that we're not going to cheapen up our products. We, number 2, have amazing quality control because of our high standards and our continual testing. Do you know that we test every batch of raw ingredients and test the products at different stages of production? And this is so cool. Do you know that we even test to make sure those little Pro Vitality packets, the vitamins, the tablets in those packets can stay there together without interacting with each other? Nobody does that, but we do. It's fantastic. So thirdly, we have integrity in every area, not only the science, but the leadership. Thank you, Kendra, Josh, all y'all. Leaders are fantastic, excellent integrity in our business, in our operations, and in every area. Nobody surpasses us. Nobody, many businesses have a little black spot on their reputation. We are thankful all these years, Jerry, we do not. So thank you for that. And, of course, we have a 59-year history of products that work. And they do work. And they keep on working. And my story is so similar to many that we hear, especially in women these days, very similar to Nicole's story that she shared the other day. And I, too, in my 20s, my 30s, and 40s, had a long list of worsening symptoms. And I really believe there had to be more natural solutions. So I tried many, 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 many different brands of supplements over the years. And I guess you could say with some limited success, because I kept going. I just kept going. But I never achieved really vibrant wellness. And I just, I didn't look at myself as a sickly person, so I just kept going. But I really didn't know what real wellness was until Lee and I met Josh in 2001, and he told us about NeoLife. And the first thing we did, y'all, was fix our digestion. Exactly what Yvette was talking about. All the nutrients in the world, if we put them in and they can't get digested and processed, just like she said, too bad, we're wasting. And so that was the beginning of a wonderful year of healing. It took about 4 months on all these digestive products. Thank you, it was perfect timing, Yvette. I took all those. Y'all need to start your folks off with that plan. And then we didn't have Pro Vitality back then. I just took Formula 4, you know, the vitamin and the Trianen. 4 months later, I'm feeling much better. Not perfect, but I had a little more energy. I was sleeping better. My mood was starting to improve, but I still had a lot of pain. And so the next that was 4 months. You know, if you're sick for a long time, you gotta don't expect to be well in a month. It might take you half a year. The older you are, the longer it takes. It might take a year. What if it takes 2 or 3 years? So what? If you've been sick for 2 or 3 decades, 2 or 3 years is not a very long time to get well. So the short answer, Josh, to how has NeoLife impacted my health is this. The past 16 years of my life have been by far the healthiest and the most well of my entire adult life.
That's awesome. Now, we have 1 minute left on this, so let me ask you, go forward to this question here. Could you just quickly sum up how the products have helped somebody you've shared it with?
Yes. So in the past, I've shared some dramatic stories of how lives have been saved. But now, today, I just want to say how everyday people in everyday walks of life, their lives are transformed dramatically every day. And that would be starting with nurses, teachers, and students. First, students are college kids. When they went to school, they lived in the dorm around all those germs and all that strep and all that mess. Our kids never lost one day of, not one class because of illness. All right, so that's one. They stayed well throughout the stress of college. Teachers, my daughter-in-law, teachers, kids always get sick. The kids bring in everything, don't they? And so by being on NeoLife, we have seen many teachers go on straight through, not picking up everything that the kids have. And nurses. I just want to say, Stephanie, our daughter, is here, along with Christian, her husband. Will you wave out there? I want you all to see him. This is Christian, yay. And Stephanie's a nurse. She and I, we're in a hospital. We don't miss days because we don't get sick, because our immune systems are strong the way God meant them to be. Christian's a hospital chaplain, same thing. He's around people all the time. We don't get sick. That means a lot when you're not missing work because of just this. And it means a lot to your team that you work with, too, that we're not bailing out on them.
Thank you so much.
So, all right. I just have to say one more thing because I could say a lot more things. I want to repeat what Laverne said yesterday because it really just caught my attention. Because I know your last question is, how important is it that we're doing what we're doing to reverse the trend? And, of course, it's very important, but we can't help everybody. And I loved what Laverne said, that we can't force a situation. However, if I do not talk to a certain person about NeoLife, I do not have that much to lose. But if I fail to offer that someone the information or the opportunity, they have a whole lot to lose.
Wow. That is fantastic.
So I'm going to remember that, and I hope you all do too.
Yes, thank you, Susan. Thank you so much. All right, and now we have Dr. Tom Hickey, a chiropractor. And Tom, what a privilege to have you. First of all, to have gotten to know you the last 2 years, and I know you have some exciting stories to share as well. And so starting off, why did you choose to partner with NeoLife?
Well, how many people in this room, before they were in NeoLife, thought you were healthy?
Yeah, sure enough.
Yeah, I thought I was healthy too. And it's been 3 years that have been with NeoLife, and you know, it's been a transformation. And so all the time that I thought I was healthy, I really wasn't. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up utilizing the products from A to Z.
So if you could quickly comment in closing, what would you say to all of the promoters here who aren't chiropractors, but they have a big heart like you? And when you look at the big problem we have out there in our mission, what would you say to them?
Well, with chronic disease is just epidemic, and just this week we heard the study that was done in the Journal of American Medical Association talking about concussions. Well, I played college football, and I had a series of concussions as I grew up, and I started thinking that this study showed that there were 202 participants, or actually not participants, but they were bodies that were donated to science after the fact. But they studied out these football players, and they ranged from high school through the NFL. And what they found was that the largest concussed group were the NFL players. And they call it chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is CTE. Well, there were 111 NFL players that were being tested, and 110 of them had CTE. So we know a lot of other sports outside of football that actually can concuss the brain. So we, as promoters, if we can touch as many people that we know that are hockey people from Canada, soccer players, basketball, any sport that can have concussed problems, so that's where we can really be a benefit to our friends and family.
Thank you, Dr. Hickey. Thank you. And next, now we have Raynor Meyer, who is a nurse practitioner. And Raynor will begin by asking, and by the way, also all of these very successful, you all have been with your businesses and touching lives. I don't think I mentioned that. Thank you. First, I know it started out your own personal story, and as you can tell, they can't help but share it. And Raynor, you kind of didn't have a choice about this, did you?
No, I actually married into it about 4 years ago. Yeah. So my beautiful wife down there, Liz, I met her about 4 years ago, and when we were dating, she snuck a box of Pro Vitality in my pantry and was basically, in no other words, told me, if you marry me, you marry NeoLife. So
we're so glad that we got a great addition to the NeoLife family.
Yeah, and like you said, I thought I was healthy. I thought I ate well. Didn't really have any significant health problems. But it wasn't until after I started taking the products that I just felt better. Like you said, so it's just that personal, like that personal experience of taking the products and seeing the effects.
You're glad she pushed it on you then.
Absolutely.
And so how have you seen the products impact those you've shared it with?
So I've seen it impact so many people. But a story that comes to mind first is a lady we met last year, a friend of Liz's. It was her grandmother. Her friend came to her and asked her.
And finally, Raynor, what would you say to those who are looking on that want to go out and make an impact and change lives, but they're not a nurse? And do you believe that their role is critical and that they can go out there and be a partner?
Absolutely. In my practice, the majority of the problems I see are chronic, and chronic disease is just an epidemic. Diabetes, heart disease, and all of the medications I prescribe for chronic disease are not curative. They're a Band-Aid. They address the symptoms and might extend, slow the progression of the disease, but the only way to halt progression or prevent it altogether is through lifestyle change and nutrition. And that's what NeoLife offers. NeoLife offers, it's a bridge to, it bridges the gap between our diet and the nutrition we need.
Wow, thank you so much, Raynor, for sharing that. And finally, Melanie, a naturopath, certified nutritional consultant. Can you share with us, yes? Can you share with us why you chose to partner with NeoLife, not only to protect your health, but for your clients as well?
Because it works. That's about the best thing I could really say, is because it works. Because I had tried other things, and I was an educator in school, loved my students, loved what I was doing, and my last year there, my health just started to go down, and I couldn't stop it. And I was trying to eat well, and nothing was helping. And I quit and went to my first hourly job since I was 15 years old, and met someone who began to share with me more about nutrition, and I started my journey on some other supplements from other places. And I only got a little bit better, and I couldn't figure out why. And that was when this same person invited Louis Smith to come to the university and to talk to us. And the first thing he started to talk about was our food and what's going on with that. So a good piece of education that I went, okay, that makes sense. And then he started talking about our cells. And he talked about TRNN and what it does to the cell. And I was listening so carefully, and I thought, that could be an answer for me. That's why I'm only a little tiny bit better, and I could be better, maybe if the TRNN was in me. Okay, that's great. And then he started to talk about minerals, because he looked at what I was taking, and he said, let me just tell you about this chelated mineral thing. And I went, oh, I might get more in my cells. They might work better. There's another thing. And then he talked about getting our stuff from food, and the difference that was when it came in a complex, not just in an isolate, which I was taking, just a little tiny part of something out. Well, at that point, it wasn't even all food. It was probably very synthetic stuff, too. But the long and short story of that was, I started thinking, I think this might make sense. I had already changed my diet. I had already gotten rid of every white food I could possibly get rid of, except for maybe cauliflower. And and I didn't have much more to do other than, let me just change my supplements. And I did, and within 4 months, my entire life changed. I went from not being able to get up and down very well to sit in it. I had to sit most of the time. I couldn't do much, to being able to run across the university campus to turn in paperwork that was late. You know, it's just my whole everything changed, and I could get back on the floor with the children, and I could do everything I needed to do. So it works, and I couldn't not tell people, and frankly, they couldn't not see. The ones that were around me that knew me saw the change. So it was easy to start to tell.